ready for some more environmental action? Maybe some skateboarding? Is this? Is this? Can Trevor? Can Trevor be? All right, so the next panel is about regeneration and change. Such important topic. I'm very excited to hear about how can we all be the change. Please tell us, share with us the answers.
Thank you. Hello. I apologize that I have my notes here today. It's because my country is in war, and I wanted to kind of like take a moment and talk about climate change in the concept of people. And I think that's what we are all here to talk about. And kind of like take a moment to remember that we need to stop fighting sorry, among ourselves and start fighting for our climate, for our future, because at the end of the day, we'll continue fighting one another. We'll still be dead. So, yeah. Whew. Okay. So, on that heavy note, I am Tali Orad. I am the founder of 1 Trillion. We plant trees with communities all over the world. We create sustainable regenerative communities. And I'm excited for my panelists here, and I would let you introduce yourselves. And I also asked them to share one word, which is the drink they think they're feeling right now. I want to drown myself in something, but I'll switch. Please, Courtney.
Yes, I'll kick it off. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Courtney. A lot of you know me as CBM. I'm the founder and CEO of Akua. Here are two of our products, which I'll add here to our little product stage. So this is our kelp burger and our new SpongeBob approved kelp patties. These are made with ocean farmed kelp. We would never touch a wild kelp forest. And if I was a drink right now, I would definitely be an ocean beer.
Hello, I'm Teresa, and I'm a biologist and one of the co-founders of Movimento Claro. We have a stand over there. If you haven't taken a look at it, you can visit and learn a little bit more about our projects. One thing about me that I think you should know is that I'm a bit of an introvert, so I'm not definitely not a public speaker, and this is not my ideal scenario, but I'll try my best. And definitely talking about sustainability, which is a dear topic to me, definitely helps. So just bear with me if there's some nerves that pop up. About the drinks. Yeah, now it's gonna seem like I stole the idea, but yeah, I also thought ocean beers definitely, because it's one of the sponsors here, and because just like ocean beers, trying to raise awareness towards sustainability in a fun and tasty way. I think this is what this event is also about, trying to promote awareness towards sustainability in a fun way as well, an informal way.
Cool. And I'm Karim. I just moved to Lisbon about 3 days ago. One more. And I'm the co-founder of Farm On, and we offer a hotline that helps farmers to transition to regenerative agriculture. And we're focused all around Europe, basically. And my drink, I would say ginger tea, because I've had about 16 since last night, so that I wouldn't lose my voice. So that's fresh on my mind.
Thank you. So my drink originally was coconut water. Even though, for all of you do not know, coconut is not a tree, it's perennial. So just kind of like a note. But I want to start, so we're focusing on regeneration and change, and I want to start with talking a little bit about the problem. And I don't mean climate change, I'm talking about ecosystem and biodiversity. I would like to start actually with Teresa. She's a biologist, and just ask, what is the impact of biodiversity loss on our ecosystems?
So great question. So first of all, biodiversity loss means there's a decline either in the number or genetic variability or the variety of species or biological communities within a given area. And these can lead to a loss in a variety of life. which can lead to a breakdown in the functioning of an ecosystem in that area where there's a decline of biodiversity. And why does this happen? Because biodiversity is critical for maintaining an ecosystem's health. So if there's decline in biodiversity, there's going to be decline in the ecosystem's productivity, and there can be decline. Therefore, there can be decline as well in the quality of the ecosystem's services. And what is this? The ecosystem services. It's the direct and indirect benefits that human beings can get from an ecosystem. For instance, clear, pure water, drinking water, is a direct benefit that human beings get from an ecosystem. Bees can be an indirect benefit because more bees means more pollination, which means bigger crops, for instance. So biodiversity loss threatens also the structure and the well-function of an ecosystem. I mean, all ecosystems are adapted in some degree to fight or adapt themselves to some degree of biodiversity loss, but human-driven biodiversity loss is more severe and has longer standing effects as well. Biodiversity loss can lead to also a loss in the ecosystem's complexity, meaning that roles that were played by multiple interacting species or individuals are now played by fewer or none. And therefore, there's loss in that complexity, and the ecosystem is not able to adapt as in a more efficient way to a disturbance or a stress caused by biodiversity or loss or whatever other stress or disturbance. And if we go beyond a critical point of removal of or a decline of a species, that can even lead to the destabilization or even collapsing of an ecosystem, meaning that it becomes something else entirely. So a forest or a grassland can become a cropland, or a savanna can become a desert, and this applies to any ecosystems, whether it's a terrestrial ecosystem or a marine ecosystem.
Thank you. So Karim, how does regenerative agriculture help us protect ecosystems?
So to just define regenerative agriculture first, I think it's an umbrella term that designates all types of agriculture that also have a focus of regenerating soil and of uplifting the ecosystems. So there are many schools under that umbrella. And so the base principle is really that you are focused on regenerating your soil, and that a farmer understands that the quality of their soil is really their savings. It's their vault, it's their life savings, essentially. Then from that high-level goal, you have principles, which you follow, which could be something like keep your soil covered all the time. That can be beneficial in the sense that you don't want water to evaporate. You want the benefits of roots in your soil to create a more solid structure. You're going to want to follow principles like crop rotation as well, so that you have a diversity of plants that are going to take up and plant in various nutrients. And then at the third level, you have specific practices. And the reason why this is complex in a way is that every context has its own individual practices that farmers need to carry out. So it's really, regenerative agriculture is a way of thinking and a way of approaching farming, which is very different to the way most farmers farm today.
So it's basically concerning Mother Earth when we consume from it and making sure that we take, but we protect it.
Yeah, you basically need to give in order to take back, and you also need to understand how the resilience of your ecosystem works. I mean, Teresa, you were talking about ecosystem services. I think if you were to invest, say, you would not put all of your pebbles into one basket, right? Because if something goes wrong with one of your investments, then everything goes south. It's the same with farming. You don't want to have the same crop or plant or tree all over your farm, because if something goes wrong, it all goes wrong. And the reason why the way we farm today is this way is because it is optimized for efficiency, and it's, in a way, technology-centric. Because it's easier, it's quicker to harvest, it's cheaper to plant. So there are logical economic reasons for that, but we're kind of reaching a breaking point where that focus leads to now decreased yields and harvests for farmers, because essentially the resilience of the soil and the resilience of these ecosystems is no longer sustainable.
Yeah. So, Courtney, I actually saw a quote you put on your website, and it was by kind of like Philip Woolen, and he's the former VP of Citibank, and I'll just read the quote. 8 billion human beings are alive today. We will kill 2 billion animals. We kill 2 billion animals every week. We kill 1 billion ocean animals every 8 hours. Now, if humans were killed at the same rate, we would be wiped out in 1 week. So just let it sit for a second, because it's terrifying. Courtney, so how is your solution solving this problem?
Solving's a very strong word, but and I'm just gonna fix my packaging here. No, we
aiming to solve it. Right?
Yeah, yes. doing my part, I think, and with SpongeBob too. Thank you. Yeah, I became obsessed with this idea of feeding people ocean farmed kelp because I had never heard of a type of regenerative food farming that was so perfect. It's allowing fishermen a way to make a living where they no longer have to fish, but they can use the boats and the buoys that they already have to farm kelp. So they're becoming basically ocean gardeners. And that obviously reduces the stress on the fishing stock. But I think what's really cool about these kelp farms that we support are, in that kelp is in the water, you're essentially planting a kelp forest ecosystem. So you're seeing species of fish return to the shorelines that haven't been there in a decade. And you're seeing shellfish have thicker shells. And that's a result of decreased nitrogen and CO2 in the water and increased oxygen. So that's what makes kelp farming essentially regenerative aquaculture. Now, when I became obsessed with this, I thought, well, what if we could replace what I see as the most unsustainable way to make food, and that's factory farming, because I'm obsessed with kelp farming, I think it's the most sustainable way to make food. And so we started looking at the plant-based options for our first products. And fortunately, and I think plant-based is not going anywhere. It's been an explosive category. I'm so inspired by all of the young people that I'm meeting. I don't think that there's ever been a generation with as many vegetarians and vegans in it as Gen Z and the folks coming up behind them. And I think by attaching to that plant-based movement with kelp farming, we've been able to sort of showcase, hey, a burger doesn't have to be this disgusting hormone-induced factory farmed thing that you eat on the weekend with your friends. It can be this symbol of everything that could be right with the food system. So we've tackled the animal rights thing, but it was really just because that's the right thing to do in food.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I kind of want to bring another element to this discussion, and I want to talk about the overshoot day. I don't know if anybody know what it means, but it means that basically in 1 year we consume and we take away from Mother Earth resources than Mother Earth can give us. And one way to avoid getting there is obviously is not consume so much, transition to sustainable products and to regenerative ecosystems. And Courtney, I want to go back to you, and I wanted to ask what makes ocean farming different, and kind of get a little deeper into why is it regenerative?
Yeah, so as you described, regenerative agriculture, aquaculture is, one step beyond sustainable, where we're leaving something the way it is. It's actually going that further step that we need and healing from centuries of damage. I think if women started out as farmers, this is just how we would farm. But I'm just going to leave that comment there. And it makes sense. It's finally doing things where we're not just operating from greed and capitalism, but how can we look at this in a long-term way so that future generations can exist with the same biodiversity that we've grown up with. I mean, I think just back to your original comment, like the fact that my daughter might not be able to see the same animals that I grew up seeing when she's diving is the most heartbreaking thought about climate change for me personally. So with kelp farming, the one small thing that we're doing, but at scale could be really powerful, is this idea of basically rebalancing the CO2 and oxygen levels in the ocean. So we've seen rising sea temperatures kill off a lot of animal life, a lot of plant life, and by basically replicating a kelp forest in a farming setting, you are helping to add more oxygen back into the water. So if anyone remembers photosynthesis from high school or middle school, if you went to a really good school, I guess, it's sucking in CO2 as it grows its body mass and exhaling oxygen. Kelp is so good at this because it is essentially a weed. It grows every month over a foot. So we plant in November, we harvest in April, and during that growing season, you can get 10 feet, so sorry, I think that's about 3 meters and change, of this beautiful mermaid-like hair. And the reason we don't keep it in the water and we take it out is because as the water starts to warm in the summer, it can be at risk of biofouling, and that would actually sort of create more CO2 in the ocean. So we harvest it, or the farmers harvest it right before that, so they can get maximum yield for the kelp and be able to sell it to companies like ours without it starting to biofoul. But you see that in that 6 to 7 month growing period, that CO2 reduction already. So that's what makes it regenerative.
Okay, thank you. So Karim, you work at the intersection of agriculture, technology, and environmental sustainability. And I'm just curious, and I'm sure our audience is too, how can technology solutions help address specific environmental challenges and support the regeneration of ecosystems?
So I just want to preface the answer with the fact that a lot of the problems that we have today
Always
is that
challenging you.
A lot of the issues that we have today is that farming is centered around technology, right? So you're going to grow lanes because that's how the tractor is going to harvest. So it's the tail wagging the dog, effectively, the situation that we're in. So it's very important to use technology in a way that serves a resilient ecosystem. And kind of coming in with that mindset is not very obvious. So now what's happening is that a lot of farmers are experimenting in their own climate, in their own geographies, with what regenerative means with their crop, with their soil, with their location. And every time, you don't really have to start from scratch, but almost. You have to create your own blueprint. Now, you have these individuals who are all pioneers, who are all very entrepreneurial, who are all also very brave because, they're taking risks of trying things out, and at the end of the year, they're hoping that they're going to have a harvest. And, the way farming is that you want to minimize your risk. You want to do what your dad did. You want to do what your parents. I mean, just because, in our case, there's a lot of traditional farmers, and it's a very, very male-centric culture at the moment, which needs to change. And every time you derive and you change one parameter of your farming, do it at your own risk. We don't know if things are going to grow. So that's very scary. I mean, every year I take a loan, and I might lose my life savings because I'm feeling creative in how I want to change. And nobody's going to support me. I don't get insurance. So imagine how scary that is. And I think that's very humbling when speaking to farmers and not going like, why aren't you, why are you destroying Mother Earth? It's like, whoa. Like, I don't want to risk my life savings. Do you? So starting there, what technology can do, roping back? Yeah. I think that technology allows for scale, and that's what it does best. And what we're doing at Farm On is that we are connecting farmers on a hotline where they get to chat to the most appropriate expert in the world, that can help them with the operational problems that they're having. So you're that farmer that's feeling creative and that has to change and that's taking a risky decision, and you're going to want to speak to an expert to have a second opinion to make sure that, okay, let's make sure that I have a harvest at the end of the year. So what we're doing behind that is that we're trying to find the local formulas that work in each environment. So there are things that you can systematize around farming. For example, when you've got a transition, you always have a to-do list that you have to go through. Okay, what's the machinery that I need to invest in? If I need to put a cover crop, so a cover crop is a crop that you put in between your seasons just to make your soil healthier. You have technical decisions around that. And so the idea is really to help the farmer de-risk those decisions and to compare what has been done elsewhere in the world to almost spit back the most likely, the best solution for what that farmer is. And this is what experts do, right? If I'm a farming consultant, that we call them agronomists, they have seen lots and lots of farms over their lives. And when they consult a farmer, they consult their own experience and they say, okay, I've seen this work most of the time, so I think if you plant that and you do it this way, it's going to work. Well, the truth is that with some parameters, not all, but with some parameters, technology can actually parse what's happened on all of the farms of Europe, because we can actually check satellite data. We can see, okay, what have they done? How has it grown? What have they sown? What inputs have they used? And giving that information back to the farmer for them to make the best decision so they don't actually take uncalculated risks when they put their life savings on the line. So that's where technology helps.
Yeah, so you bring some interesting topics here, and what I keeps on thinking as you're talking is basically knowledge is key here, and education is key, and sharing information is key, and so I work with communities all over the world, and I know we share information with them, and they share information among themselves, but there's also the concept of sharing it with others, and they will not necessarily go to me to ask for that knowledge. They'll first go to the next village. So I'm just curious from your perspective, if you see them going to a third party, technology versus the agronomist, which is already an expert, why would I try and take another risk?
Great question. Challenging me again, I like it.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't rehearse that.
The thing is that you have a lot of farmers that have this problem with their soil, and they're very isolated ideologically. I mean, let's call it what it is. I think, if you decide to farm regeneratively, if you decide to put a cover crop, I mean, that's kind of taboo. It's like, oh, you're going to do all that hippie stuff, And you kind of have no one to turn to geographically. So there is a lot, the way regenerative farming is happening right now, it's very 21st century in the sense that there's a lot of cross-pollination that is happening between geographies and where that knowledge is being exchanged. So right now we're working with a farmer in the Algarve, and they have no more water, and we're connecting them with an expert in Morocco. Because Morocco has had the Sahara Desert for centuries, and they've had to deal with that extreme heat, and that's where actually connecting to someone who's not close to you when the climate is changing becomes more valuable. So the paradigm and the communities around farming are also becoming different and remote and not just your village, and you have to look beyond that.
Yeah. So Teresa, I want to kind of jump into you, and I know you're working involving underwater cleanups, doing education with children. You're doing so many beautiful things, and I would like for you to touch a little bit on that and just share with us, because maybe we have educator on here, to take lesson of some effective strategies for engaging with communities and sharing that knowledge and basically inspire them to change.
We have a lot of projects with Movimento Claro. One of them you can already check a little bit. It's the skateboards made of recycled plastic, and we do have the project with underwater cleanups in Cascais Bay. We just finished our third edition this year, and we do get a lot of engagement from the community. And I think that's because, first of all, I think it's the regularity or the frequency that we do these events. So it's just not just a sporadic cleanup that we do, a beach cleanup or another underwater cleanup. We try and do a beach cleanup open to the public, one cleanup per month, or an underwater cleanup when the weather allows, which is between April and October, between 1 to 2 underwater cleanups per month as well, so that people feel that they're actually having an impact and feel the sense of mission accomplished. But not only that, but also in a way that people engage with us, with the movements, because if they meet us once per month, they get to know us and they become regulars at our events, and that's what we want. We want people not just to participate in just one event or action, but to come back and continue doing their part for the environment. And I think the other thing that we also do right, if I'm being modest, is that our events are a bit informal. We try and create a sense of community, a little bit create familiarity and a sense of kind of family. So people come back because not only do they feel like I said, like a sense of mission accomplished, but because they also like the group that has been formed in the actions that we've done. Just to give the example with the underwater cleanups that we do, at the end of each cleanup, we would have like a lunch that for every cleanup, I would make banana bread and sandwiches for everybody at 5 a.m. in the morning, and people feel that. So they felt good coming, and with this project that we have that is called Dive for Cascais, the underwater cleanups, we also give out diving grants. So for people that want to participate and dive with us, but might not be able to pay for a diving course, they can apply for these diving grants, and if they win, then they commit themselves to participating in the cleanups for that year that they won. But we actually, we've had people that won, so we started this project 3 years ago, and we've had people that won in the first year, so 3 years ago, and they're still coming back to our cleanups. And also people that came, they dive with us not just because they won the grants, because they wanted to participate and help. They come year after year and they still participate, because I think, again, they feel the sense of I'm doing something with meaning and with impact, but they also feel good with the group that has been formed. It's a bit of a family. And at the end of the edition of this project, we had a dinner and we did a paintball game just to still create that in connection. So it's not just we did a beach cleanup and bye.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So this skateboard is from what you found in the ocean?
So this skateboard, is made from plastic. Just the board, the wheels, unfortunately, we haven't been able yet to find a way to make the wheels from plastic. We're trying to figure that out, but it's a process. But it's made from, so we mainly use plastic type 2 and 5. Which is found in bottle caps, detergent bottles, shampoo bottles, and this is sometimes in the beach cleanups. We at the end of our actions of our cleanups, we separate the debris, and if we find plastic that we can repurpose for this project, we do. But it's mostly people that already know the projects and go to our workshop place, which is, if you want to visit, we have the address there. It's in Bar de Tour. We have a shipping container there that we repurposed to make and build our office there to make these skateboards. And people go there and they give out the plastic that they have been gathering at home. And we also partnered with a lot of schools here in Cascais that they already have collection points in the schools. So, and then when they have filled them up, we go and collect them.
That's cool. And the kids go and afterwards know what you have done with the plastic?
Yeah, no, they definitely know, because when we create these collective points at schools, we always do a bit of an introduction and show a movie like about the process of the skateboard, so they know what the goal is with the collecting the plastic, not just, okay, collect the plastic, but why? We try and do that to explain people why they're doing that, what's the purpose, because I think that way we engage more people to actually collect the plastic.
That is pretty cool. I don't know how much time we have, so I'm just going to keep on asking questions. I would love for all of you to kind of like, to all my panelists, to kind of like try and share, because this audience, and we had the same question coming up from the other panel, is what can we do as individuals? Because sometimes we feel very helpless, right? There's nothing I can do. And even in the previous panel, I was connecting with a woman, and when she heard what I'm doing, she asked me, so what can I do as an individual? I feel like this is so big. This is a government thing. This is like your organization can do. I can't really do those things. So what advice will you give them from your kind of like expertise?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but who's going diving in Cascais soon? This is incredible. Do you rent 7mm wetsuits?
Yes.
Okay, thank God.
I'm also an instructor,
Okay.
publicity.
I mean, this is amazing. I'm definitely signing up. Haven't used my Patty in a bit. And yeah, I mean, look, we run a consumer food company. So like the number one thing we always talk about to our customers is that you vote with your dollars, and that is incredibly powerful. I don't bash people over the head with our marketing that they need to go vegan or go home, but I think the point is this whole rise of flexitarianism and choosing to eat more plant-based and being open to it and exploring it and finding plant-based products that are, actually healthy for you and none of this like fake meat crap. Like these are the consumer choices that, we encourage people to do. And I think, we always say, like, because we're a food company, like mind shifts start in the mouth, and, if you can change people's stomachs, you can change their minds. And this whole idea of just trying to get people open to eating a regeneratively ocean farmed kelp burger is not easy. But when you can get them to that dinner table, which is arguably the greatest piece of technology, connective technology ever invented, what are those conversations that can stem from it? Can you choose to serve your friends a plant-based meal? Can you organize dive trips? Can you talk about regenerative agriculture as a dinner conversation? I think all of those things are more important than, scaling your company and getting bought by Unilever one day. So it's really about the journey here, I think, and knowing that our small steps really matter.
Yeah, can go next. So I think individually, like everybody has a role, obviously, and I think we can't get overwhelmed by the problem, because that's just going to take us down, and we cannot think, okay, if my solution can't solve the problem worldwide, then it's not worth it. No, you can't think like that, because otherwise nothing's going to get done ever. So, okay, the action is local, but yeah, the ocean is worldwide. So just again, using my example, because yeah, that's what I know. Movimento Claro started with a campaign to end plastic straws, and now we have 3 main projects that are funded by the municipality and parish council and national funds. So it only takes an idea. It can be small. It doesn't have to change the world in one go.
It is changing the world.
Yeah, step by step. Yeah, you have to think like that. Like you light a spark, and hopefully with that spark, you'll inspire more people to do stuff like what you're doing or other people are doing. that's all you can hope for. You can't hope to change the world in one day and the whole world at once. And it doesn't take a lot of technology either. With the skateboards, people ask us, "Oh, how do you do that? Like, you must have like a crazy machine." No, it's literally a pizza oven, an industrial one, but yeah, it's a pizza oven. So, okay, you can't do it in a big scale, but we can make a few, and you can check it out. Again, making publicity. So yeah, that's my advice, not getting overwhelmed by the problem. And if you have an idea and you think you can implement it, it doesn't have to be something super complex. Again, you can start with the campaign to end plastic straws. And from that, let's see where it takes you. Thank you.
I guess my advice would be, probably most of you do this, but to carve out the time after you eat food, 5 minutes or 30 seconds or 10 seconds or 5 seconds, and maybe consistently ask yourself, how does this food make me feel? And carving out that time to actually evaluate that is I believe it's a really smart way to guide where you want to consume and what you want to eat and from whom you want to source. I mean, there's a lot of scientific studies now that have proven that the health of the microbiome in the soil is directly connected to the health of the microbiome in your gut. And that is directly connected to your mood and even your behavior. So there's studies that show that some of the wolves that end up being the alpha of the pack have a different gut microbiome. I mean, this is how much it can alter your behavior. So by observing how your mood changes when you eat, you indirectly can tell the quality of the soil of the food that you're sourcing. And you give the power back to your body to decide rather than having abstract conceptual principles. I mean, of course, these are useful, but that can complement that. So that would be my advice.
Amazing. So I'll finish with my advice, and it kind of like ties up to all of yours. And that will actually be spend some time in nature. Go outside, hug a tree, touch the soil, look at the birds. And when you do that and you reconnect with nature, you will know what you need to do next. So with that, I think we have maybe a question, time for one question or two. So if anybody has like a question for those beautiful panelists of mine.
Extremely clear.
What is happening with kelp in Portugal?
Kelp in Portugal.
What is happening with kelp in Portugal? So we source 100% of our kelp from, if you're familiar with the New England seaboard of the U.S., from Massachusetts to Maine. I'm personally, I've very interested in, I think there was a woman here earlier today who was reforesting kelp forests. Would love to meet her. That would lead me to believe that kelp grows well in Portugal. It's a cold water species. So I think that's really exciting. I have not heard of any kelp farming yet here in Portugal. But I can certainly, if anyone's interested in that and kicking it off, supply you with all sorts of ideas and resources. Basically, if you can someone, there you go. We didn't even have to, I'm so sorry, I'll shut up. But well, yeah, I think it could be a really awesome industry here. Hopefully.
So yeah, in the morning, are you Portuguese? Okay. The vereadora, because I don't know how to say this in English, of the environment from the municipality here, Joana Balsemão. She spoke and she was speaking about a project that is being done here in Cascais. So we used to have kelp forests here in Cascais, and they disappeared for some reason. People don't know exactly, probably several causes. But they're now replanting them, and so far it has been a process trying to find the right place to do it, but it seems like they're finally found the key elements, and they're starting to grow. The project is called Sea Forester. If you want to check it out, it's really cool. They just made a small documentary about the project. But yeah, it's being done here in Cascais as well.
But two separate things, because that's replanting a forest. and you would never touch a forest to make food products. And a forest grows from the bottom of the floor via its holdfast on rocks. We farm it. We plant the spores, which are kelp seeds, in the ropes. And they get attached by buoys and weighted down about 6 feet below the surface. And the kelp grows down from the rope. So it's kind of like a reverse situation. And because it's a little bit closer to the surface and doesn't have that holdfast, that's why it's harvested after about 6 to 7 months. But if you can grow a kelp forest, you can grow a kelp farm. So if anyone's interested in that, I think it'd be amazing.
Any other question?
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.